We are back on the cane juice tour, and today I am visiting French Guiana, which is in the northeast corner of South America and is also the second largest department in France. Now, if you are American and you're confused by this, how can that be? It's very simple. At the end of the Second World War, most of the old colonial powers either allowed their old colonies independence and sovereignty, or they integrated them into their own governments and gave them, voting representation and all that stuff. All of them with one major exception. I will leave it to you to guess who that might be. Anyways, French Guiana, cool little country, has an awesome space program actually, and this is a agricole-style rum. So from the French Overseas Department, but not Reunion and not Martinique and not Guadeloupe. This is French Guiana. And the name of this is La Belle Cabresse, which roughly translates to something like the mulatto beauty. Yeah. I know companies in the U.S. are trying to be more sensitive about, race stuff. Not to say that they're actually doing like self-examination and consideration of their of how they might be implicated in racism. Oh no, they're just gonna like delete some products in the catalog and change some names. But something like this is a fun reminder that the rest of the world, particularly the French Caribbean, doesn't care that much. Anyhow, we're going to give this a shot. This is bottled at 50% alcohol by volume. It is from Rhumerie Saint-Maurice, which I suppose is the distillery. I don't know that much about this, so we're just going to give it a shot. Cane juice, column still. The usual. Ooh. Fruity, very fruity, lots of fruit. Kiwi, papaya, passion fruit, pineapple. I could keep going. Touch of blood orange, lime, grapefruit. It's really, really fruit dominant. Usually I get more green stuff or more kind of spicy notes, but not this one. This one is like 90%. Just, here I am, I'm fruity. If you go looking, you find a little bit of like a chalk note and some white tea in there. Maybe like half a green olive, one fennel seed. But that's really it for this. I mean, the overwhelming character on this is fruit. And I'm kind of into that. All right, on the palate. Really good, actually. Well, let me get the bad part out of the way first. It's a hair short in my mouth. I'm looking. I don't have any good terminology for this yet that's sort of generally available. But basically, what it's doing is it's kind of going as far back in my mouth as my molars, and then kind of stopping there. And usually, I want kind of more follow through, if that might make sense for my spirits. So that's the bad thing. On the other hand, this is just really beautifully constructed. It arrives very kind of sweetish and fruity again. So yeah, pineapple, kiwi, lime, all that stuff. And then it transitions and closes on this really nice kind of chalky, minerally bitter snap. It's a very complex finish, actually. There's some flowers there. There's some Kirschwasser. Usually I expect Kirsch to show up in like bourbons and stuff, but here it is in a agricole-style rum. This is nice. No real green notes, no real olive or pickle. It's just that nice fruity thing, and then turning into kind of, yeah, like a really kind of minerally, slightly floral finish. That, all right, I'm gonna give this some water. And whereas most channels would just cut to where we're ready to go, or just fake it and pretend that this is opened up, I'm actually gonna let it open up for 5 minutes. So I'm gonna set my timer. Here we go, 5 minutes. And this gives me a chance to complain about Rings of Power some more, because I'm thinking about Celebrimbor in particular, the head of the elven smiths who actually makes the Rings of Power. Here's the thing. So Elrond's arc in Rings of Power Season 1 is he's supposed to go visit the dwarves to get Mithril, except he doesn't know that he's supposed to do that. He doesn't know that they have Mithril. When he finds out, he can't tell anyone. But it doesn't matter because his bosses already know about them. It's kind of confused. Anyway, what's weird about that is Elrond doesn't have any particular connection to the dwarves in the sort of the notes from Tolkien, the Tolkien materials. Who he does have a special relationship with is men, particularly Numenor, because his brother was the first king of Numenor after he chose to become a human. That's kind of a long story. But basically, if you were going to have an elf wandering around Numenor negotiating with the leadership, it would probably have made sense to have it be Elrond, the guy who's basically their uncle, rather than Galadriel. But I'm sorry, back to my point. Know who does have, in the Tolkien materials, a very close connection to the dwarves? The Elven Smiths of Eregion, led by Celebrimbor. Apparently, the Eregion is right at the foothills of the Misty Mountains, right? They had a trade relationship going. Actually, you remember that door into Moria from Fellowship? You ever wonder why there are elven runes on that thing? It's because fucking Celebrimbor made it, along with the dwarves. Anyways, so why did that whole side arc not just get handed over to this other character? Like, he just shows up in the first or second episode to deliver exposition and send, Elrond on his way, and then he disappears and pieces out for a while, and then he's back in the last episode to be the biggest rube ever. It's very weird. Like the Rings of Power does not really spend a lot of time with the guy who makes the Rings of Power. In Tolkien's notes, he's a very interesting character, right? He's relatively young in Elvish terms. He's younger than Galadriel. He's very passionate about what he does. This comes up in the show. He's the grandson of Feanor, the guy who made the Silmarils, the other shiny things that caused untold war and destruction. And if you pay attention to a fragment considered kind of non-canonical, he also has a crush on Galadriel, and he's interested in that same fragment in basically building artifacts that stop decay and slow down time and stuff, which is a lot of what the Rings of Power do. So it really would have been fun spending time with this character. Like, why do we never see his motivations for building these stupid things? Like, okay, I mean, you could reply, there is a very big motivation given in the show, which is that the elves need it. Otherwise, they're going to kind of decay and fade away. But that's not a good motivation. That's a bad motive. Like, in the notes from Tolkien that I've read, it's not really clear why the rings are made in the first place, but it's pretty clear that it was a choice. It was up to the elves, and they could have said no, we're not gonna do that. And what they've done in the show is they've just made it this necessity. Either they die, or they go back overseas, or they build the rings, which just eliminates a lot of the tragedy of it, and also incidentally has the weird result that they kind of owe Sauron for helping them to make these things. Like, Galadriel really should have taken the time to thank Sauron for saving everyone she knows, given how they wrote the season. So yeah, it's Oh God, Celebrimbor is a really interesting character. Like the guy's a craftsman. He's not exactly a blacksmith in the traditional sense, but the actor they cast looks like a Roman senator or something. It's Jesus, and he just doesn't do anything. And then you hear like the rumors of how they had a different actor cast, and they actually filled a bunch of episodes with him, and then fired him, and kind of rejiggered everything. And you have to kind of wonder how much of the season that we see actually represents what was there in the original screenplay. I mean, it's you just have to wonder what. Oh, that is my time. Let's go back to the room. All right, let's see. Now, I know for a fact this opens up extremely well. So let's see. On the nose, there's more lime on the nose now. It was sort of dominated by the kiwi and pineapple before, but now the lime is really shooting through. Thank you for humoring my Rings of Power rant. There's actually a touch of cider vinegar coming out. This is... Usually it's like in the form of pickle juice, but this time it's just straight up like apple cider vinegar. And it's really, really nice indeed. On the palate, yeah, you know how I was complaining about how this doesn't reach all that far back in the mouth? With water, that complaint disappears. Like this really just gets enormous penetration back there. And water improves the mouthfeel considerably. It's even on the arrival, it's much more kind of rocky and substantial. God, yeah, it's just fruit and rocks and some flowers, and I absolutely love it. There's even a kind of like Fruit Loops note on this, which I've never gotten on a rum before, but it's totally there. Fruit Loops, lime, grapefruit. So this is, I mean, in some ways, if this was a Scotch, it would be like Tomatin. It's extremely fruit driven, and that's the sort of initial charm for it. But if you dig and you kind of pay attention, there's enormous complexity too. So that's kind of what this is. It's enormously charming, but at the same time, extremely solid. I was not expecting something with this label to be. It's not up there with Biel and Nisson for me, but it's pretty. We're a step below that. We're there with Rhum GM and Longto and those guys. This is up there, and I was not expecting that from this. Yeah, really, really nice rum. Well worth the grab if you were in the market for a slightly questionably named cane juice driven agricole-style rum. 86 points. 86 points for this. Thanks for watching, and cheers.